Okay, well, I see the light that says that the meeting's live on YouTube, so I'm going to assume that we're live on YouTube. But today is November 14th. This is a meeting for community outreach, so we're going to talk about how to spread the word about Backdrop. We have a to-do list from last week, which looks like most of our stuff actually got done, which is good. We have a couple of new items that didn't get done, like videos, which are always ongoing. Under social media, we have website updates. I am currently working on a GDPR checkbox. I was at a conference last week where I attended a couple of sessions on GDPR to try and figure out how it actually applies to us. And I think what I learned at the conference is that if there's only one thing that signing up for your mailing list does, then when people sign up for your mailing list, they are giving consent for you to email them, and you don't have to ask them to check a box giving them consent to email them. But we do need to change the form so that going forward, anybody has an option to give us our email address and say, don't email me. So there has to be like a radio. It can't be a checkbox where they can say yes, no. And so they can say, here's my email address, but don't email me, which is kind of a weird thing, but we need to be able to do that. So I have a version of the form that I've written for our footer that looks exactly like it does now, but when you click in the box, it'll like slide open and show the extra GDPR fields. So hopefully it won't like take up a bunch of extra space on the form, on the page showing it all be kind of collapsed. So I've got a version of that on my local that's not quite sliding how I want it to. So I didn't want to push it live until I've got that done. And then it'll be a config update to all layouts, not only on the backdrop.org site, but on the forum site and anywhere else we have that mailing list sign up box. So it should be quick. I grabbed the new consent form from MailChimp to make that update. I just need to figure out how to get JavaScript working on it. Let's see, virtual camp. I don't know if we've wanted to talk about this anymore this week.
No, probably not.
Then there's new stuff on the to-do list, which is exciting. One of them is around backing up your sites. It looks like we have a new user guide page. And this is, I guess, linking from the update script, update.php. So it'll tell people to back up their site first. Is that what this is for? Missed the context.
Yes. Not update PHP, update like modules or core.
Okay, so like the installer updater tool.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we need to come to consensus for what the alias should be. Naming is hard. It looks like right now it is user-guide/backing-site. I would prefer it be something like backing up or backup or backups, just like without the user guide. We do this in a bunch of places in core where if we have a page that's super important, we remove all of the like fake directories from the URL path. So like philosophy is just /philosophy instead of being /about/philosophy. And that's just so that when you have links like this that go out to the world, they're shorter. I don't have any like strong opinion on this. This was Nate's idea, is that he wanted them all to be easy. I think that's just because of experience with Drupal, where like, oh, I need to go to the X page. You can just go and type it in and it'll get you there, which I think makes sense. But I do like to have things organized to match my site structure. So yeah, could go either way on it. I feel like we could also do it both ways, right? Where we could have, and I think we've done this in some places in core, we could have the full complete URL be the actual one you land on, and then we could have a redirect at like /backups that could go there. But yeah, what do you think?
I just want a decision because we got to make a pull request against core to link to something. I think the redirects will probably protect us a bit once we link to something.
Okay. That way we can change it in the future.
And I don't have strong feelings about like whether it should be /backups or like /backing up a site. I think Olaf Grabinski originally recommended backing -up -site. What's in there now is like what Path Auto did. It like stripped out those things.
I agree that what Path Auto did is a little weird, where it takes out the short words. I'm not sure we need that to be that long though. I think even just like backing -up might be enough. Like, I don't think I think a site is sort of, what's that called? Not obvious, but it's sort of clear from context that a backup is a backup of the site. And I would rather have a shorter URL, but I don't care whether it's backups or like back-up or backing -up.
Let's go with backups, and then we can decide like what kind of redirects we want to put in place.
I was also thinking like we could just make the this is also really hard. We can make the redirect /backups and link to that in core, and then we can decide later what the actual URL of the page should be. But I don't know if you want to make the URL of the page backups and then make redirects later. I don't know. I'm fine with either. Okay, let's make the link in core /backups. And we can decide later whether that's the redirect or the alias. But we'll just put something on the page now. We'll kick it down the road.
Sure, I'll do that, and I'll for now make the actual alias just backups.
Okay, that works. All right.
I'm going to just jump back on the virtual camp. We sort of tabled that because I brought up this Drupal Conference. So I don't know if we want to talk briefly about that. I don't have much to report other than I'd be curious if anybody had any additional feedback on that idea. Because for me, the biggest thing is whether or not that's even possible as one like a venue. I've been sort of trying to think a little bit about where to do something like that and like what we thought the reaction would be, you know, how big of a group we might have. So I don't need to have a big discussion about this today. I don't think we have an issue in the issue queue yet to talk about this, so we could, but I mean, I'm also nervous about whether or not we have the resources, the human resources to pull this off. So people just said this is too much. That would be reasonable.
Okay, let's see. When is Baltimore?
It's Minneapolis.
Sorry.
We're talking DrupalCon Minneapolis, and it's in May.
Right, Minneapolis. I have Baltimore on my mind for another reason. May 18th through 22. Okay.
I'm in the coffee shop, so I keep muting myself. As I think about venue, it's like, you know, are we looking for the cheapest possible thing? Like, is that urgent, or would there possibly, could we raise some money to like look at a hotel downtown near the conference venue? Right? That could get expensive, but it would be convenient, and if we had 50 people that wanted to come, it might be worth it.
Interesting.
Certainly, like being able to, or you know, we could try. I think I want to. My latest thought was I should at least call a hotel or two just to get an idea of what it costs, because I don't even know if we're talking a few hundred or a few thousand for just for like a relatively small conference room. And I think it might also make sense to call St. Thomas right, where we've done our Drupal camps, because they're also pretty nicely located. And see, the thing is, it's a weekday, potentially during still the school year, although it might be late enough that it's not. So they may not be available. But I can at least check those two things out, and we have a starting point. I think it's going to be hard to find like a free or really cheap place downtown, but I don't know it needs to be downtown. I mean, if it's an all-day thing, you know, people could get out of down, you know, people could travel a bit to it even if they're staying downtown.
Are there any local dev shops in the area that might be willing to offer up their conference room or something?
So the obvious one would be Pantheon, who is downtown. They have, well, Jen's been in their space, so you know what that's like. I mean, they have people working there during the week, although the week of DrupalCon, they maybe not. Everybody will be. So they might be willing to share their space for a day. It's kind of like 50 people would be tight, and that would be spread in multiple rooms. For 20 or 30, I think you could do. And they have a couple of small rooms. But, you know, 20 or 30 might be a reasonable size for, you know, if we got 30 people, that would be super awesome, I think. So that would be a really cheap option if we thought they would do it.
The other thing too is sometimes you can get space at universities. I don't know how close, like the University of Nevada is to downtown, but it
Well, yeah, okay. I was going to say, in my Drupal mindset, I was going to say the University of Minnesota is obviously very supportive, but that's in the Drupal mindset.
Well, they might still be curious about Backdraft, and if it's giving up a classroom they're not using anyway.
Right. No, I agree. It's a little bit of question about whether or not they're still in session, and also, you know, one of the reasons we quit going there was it was hard to get them to reserve. It was like they're happy to give space at the last minute, but it was hard to get reserve space like 6 months in advance. Now we might be past the threshold where they're willing to do that. So yeah, it's worth checking with them, and they're not, you know, they're just off of downtown Minneapolis, so they're not hard to get to.
The thing I really like about universities is that we don't have to worry about Wi-Fi, but sometimes at a hotel they want to like charge you for
right
or whatever.
Well, hotels want to charge you for everything, right? So, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about trying the U. I guess I got to think about it. I know who to contact. We'll at least give that a check.
I definitely think around budget, we could definitely come up with something. We would need to figure out what it is, and we also can charge for tickets and that will make up the cost there too. So I think like making those calls first is useful. I know, Tim, you have a lot on your plate also with DrupalCon. So if you find yourself not able to get to that, and there's a way you can like document the things you need help with, we can probably crowdsource that a bit too.
Sure. Okay. Okay, well, it sounds like we should keep pursuing it a little bit. I think we're not like, I mean, let's just throw this out there, which is how early would we have to like be pretty confident about this in order for it to be successful? Like how far out would we have to announce it? So I'm just trying to back up to a deadline. Like, do we need to announce this by January 1st?
I think so. Between now and January, nobody's going to be thinking about anything.
Right.
Our next release is January 15th, and I don't think anyone's going to be thinking of anything before that.
Right.
So what we could do is put it in the newsletter that comes out January 31st.
Okay.
With that release, be like, here's a new release. By the way, we have this camp, because people usually open the new release newsletters, so that would be a good place to promote that anyway. So I don't think we need to have anything firm until January 31st. And even if we don't have like everything planned, but we have like a venue, that might be enough to be like, buy a ticket, here's the venue, and we'll figure out the rest later. I
just mean, what would be the last possible date we could say yes or no, we're going to do it? Not that we have to like have everything locked down.
Yeah, I think the end of January is realistic. I think there's probably a way we could do something more casual with less planning. So if it doesn't work out, we could just be like, oh, well, let's just you know, do a half a day somewhere.
Right. Yeah, we could do something 2 weeks before, but it'll just be much less effective and much less attendance.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's shoot. It sounds like we're shooting for like making, you know, being firm on whether or not we're going to do something like this by the end of January.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Okay. Also speaking of conferences, I was at a conference last week, the Nonprofit Software Developer Conference. And while I was there, I think 4 or 5 people came up and asked me if I was at N10. And earlier this year, when we were at the Drupal camp in Asheville, some people there also asked. And so I did some research on N10. N10 is organized way ahead of time. So they already have like their entire session schedule published. They have one day of paid sessions. That's like the day before the camp that are like $2,500 per hour or something. And I was like, can we be on this thing? And they're like, sure, you can buy it. And I was like, never mind. But I did find that it's pretty easy for nonprofits to get a booth there because it's intended for nonprofits. And so I submitted Backdrop as a possible discount option. They got back to me right away, and you can get a 10 by 10 booth for a reasonable amount of money. So I paid it. So we have a booth space. So happy holidays, Backdrop. I had a bunch of extra money last month, so I figured I'd just buy it now. And if that ends up being a donation to Backdrop, that's totally fine from me. Happy to do that. But what that means in terms of outreach stuff is that we need to figure out how to do a booth. I know last week I missed the meeting, but I heard that there was some great designs from Larian for banner stuff that you guys were talking about. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But I was also thinking we should maybe start thinking about like what kinds of things we might want to have. Like, should we maybe set up like a rotating reel of slides that's just like screenshots of site built on Backdrop, or if we want to have like a computer set up with like a live demo, or just what kind of stuff might be valuable to people wanting to learn more about Backdrop. Should we print anything? Right now, like people go up to booths and they expect stuff, and I feel like we'll be like, we have stickers. Like, I don't know if we need like a business card type thing or like a pamphlet or what have you. But anyway, so just gonna throw that out there for ideas. The conference isn't until March, so we have some time to figure that out. So I think for today, I just want to like plant the seed and let you guys start thinking about stuff we can do. And then maybe 2 weeks from now, we can start to see if anyone has had any ideas. Maybe I'll create like an issue in the queue where people can weigh in and we can review that. But I'm excited. So this will be like the first place that Backdrop has ever like actually had like a place for people to stand and talk about stuff. So.
And it's in Baltimore. So we know why you were thinking about Baltimore now.
That's why I was thinking Baltimore. It was like off my brain and it came out of my mouth accidentally. Yeah, and it's, I haven't been to Baltimore in a really long time. This is also, I think, a good step for us because it's not a Drupal event. And there's a couple of other events like this that are like OSCon, like things that I think we should be a part of that we haven't been a part of before. And if we can figure out how to do it for N10, we can have a model that I'm hoping can expand to other stuff. I haven't gotten the welcome packet from N10 yet, but I think it includes one full conference ticket and a couple of like booth showroom only tickets. So I don't know if anyone's planning on being at N10 or wants to be at N10, but I think there's going to be more things included in that package than we're going to be able to use. So we might put that information somewhere. I'll get it when I get the packet. I'll know what it is and I'll put it up somewhere. We'll be like, if you want to work the Backdrop booth, you can have this conference ticket. I think would be really useful to give to anyone.
Yeah, I've always been interested in going to N10, never have.
Okay.
I see that one of the issues is it's right after at our mid-camp. It's like 3 or 4 days after. So it's like, to do both would be kind of really just like go from Baltimore to DC or from Chicago to Baltimore.
It's on your way.
Yeah. Or I could skip mid-camp for the first time. We'll see.
Normal conference tickets for N10, I think, are super expensive, like almost $1,000 a person.
Yes. That's why I don't get there.
They did have some kind of a like scholarship sort of thing, but I looked at it and it looked like it was very specific. I don't know if it would apply to like people in open source communities. I think it was sort of, I don't remember, but I remember it being like, oh, that's not going to work. So anyway, it'll be great if we have these tickets, can help people get there. Let's see. That's it for events. Community sprints.
Are you puzzled?
Yes.
I put that, Jeff added it to the agenda. Basically, I had opened an issue about a year ago saying I'd like to do a week-long sprint on forums. We've had a whole bunch of people in Gitter and in the forum in the last week, and some of them have been like, oh, this is weird, or we should be able to do X in the forum. So I just went back and reopened that old issue and said, I'm gonna, starting this weekend to the following weekend, put my backdrop focus on finally trying to address some of these forum issues.
Okay.
And I said, if anybody wants to join me, they can, but there's never been any official decision on these dates or even on this priority. It was something I sort of threw out there. Jeff has embraced it in like doing some logistics work in terms of like, he got a Lando recipe for working on, I think forums or backdrops.org site,
Okay.
and sort of got that set up. So to me, it's just like, I mean, we could still sort of alter dates if that helped anybody, but you know, to me, it's just like I could focus on it myself. What?
I love this idea.
Mhm.
This weekend I won't have as much time as next weekend, but
Sure.
next weekend and the week after I will both have a lot of time. So I think that if you wanted to do it, I don't know, were you thinking like starting on Saturday and ending on Sunday the following week or something?
My idea wasn't here to necessarily like do a simultaneous day long sprint.
Okay.
It was like this week, this is where my energy is going to be.
Yeah.
And people can help out whenever they want, right?
Okay.
I would be happy to schedule a day during that week, but I didn't want to put the focus on like a day just because I don't know if we have enough people to make that work.
Well, I totally like, I think if we want to schedule a day, that's good because I would love to get a bunch of people like review help stuff at the same time. I would vote for either this Sunday or next Saturday or Sunday so that I could be there. But yeah, I would say whatever's best for you guys. And also just if you're working on it this week and I have time next week, that doesn't mean I can't like also get help. So yeah, so let's say pick whatever, since you're the motivator, pick whatever works best for you. And we'll try and get a bunch of people together.
I declared this week about 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted it after Drupal Conference. But there was nothing magical about this week, other than we have had, I definitely think there's been a step up of traffic in both Gitter and the forum, and there are a number of just glaring issues that.
Okay. Yeah, I think like the sooner the better generally, because we do have all these people there, and it would be great to show them like, hey, you wanted something done and we did it. Right? Yeah. That would be great. So I'm totally fine if you want to do this week. I would just say for the like if we wanted to devote one day, if we could choose Sunday, because then I can be there.
Well, I my idea of the week embraced both weekends, before and after. So we could do it the end weekend, and that would be like then during the week I could kind of get ready, have some things teed up.
Oh, okay, that works too.
Should we do that, or whichever? Or we could do it at the beginning of the week on Sunday.
Or we could do both Sundays.
Yeah, or we could do both Sundays.
It would be like kickoff Sunday, and then wrap up Sunday, and that way we would have a bunch of like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, without huge expectations. If there's 3 of us, to me that's a success.
Yeah. Okay. Does 2 Sundays work for you, Jeff?
I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I think I like the idea of it.
Okay.
Could at least drop in on either of those days or both of those days. That would be great.
Yeah.
Logistically, point C there is there's a PR that like gets the Lando file up to speed and makes some documentation. If you want to just give me the go ahead to merge that, I didn't want to like be too forward about it, but
yeah, no, you can merge a Lando file. It's totally fine.
Okay, because that won't change anything. And point B is like the same thing for backdropcms.org, but unfortunately I tied that into the PR for automating the bug squad people.
Ooh.
So we can either, I think that one's ready to merge if you want to give that a go.
Yeah.
And if it's not, if it might make sense for me to decouple the Lando thing so that it's not tied in with another piece of functionality.
I want that anyway, though. I feel like that's a good motivator for being like, let's get this in because it has other stuff. So
Great. So if you can put it on your radar to check out 591 on b.org issue Q.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna open all these tabs and then I'll have to deal with them.
Sweet.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for working on this, Jeff. All right, that was all we had for the urgent agenda for today. We have a bunch of other like regular stuff we talk about relating to outreach. External mentions, if anyone has anywhere they can write anything about Backdrop that's not on a Backdrop property, that would be awesome. Tweets and Facebook. I don't know. I scheduled a bunch of stuff, but I think it's over. So I will check after today and make sure there's more stuff scheduled. Videos,
I've been lagging in my Twitter responsibilities lately too.
What was that?
I've been lagging in my Twitter responsibilities lately.
You've been doing a great job. I think that's it. So is there anything else you guys want to add? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and
Can I ask one quick? I saw you put a note about a blog post about the birthday party. I know you scheduled a Bay Area birthday party. Do we want to try to do like last year?
Yeah, that's
a couple of coordinated events. Okay.
At the event I was at last week, I had somebody commit to doing a birthday party in New York.
Okay.
New York City, which is exciting. And I mentioned that like we try and do this all together, and he thought that was really exciting. He's like, "Oh, I want to do that." He also wants to run a mini camp in New York, and so he thought the birthday party would be a good like test of community interest in New York, because we don't have many active people there right now. He's like, I think if we start with this, I can promote it and see who comes and see what's up, and then I can do a mini camp later. So
Sure.
I think that's really good. I don't know how. Yeah, I guess we just write the blog post and do the, you know what we did last time, I've forgotten, but something about like, if you're interested in doing it, join in the forum or something and add an event. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll go back and look.
Okay.
It was nothing too fancy. I think we probably had a forum post, and the blog post pointed you to the forum and just said, go to state your interest and then get it on the calendar.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That works. All right, well, let's wrap this meeting, and then we have 10 minutes before we start the dev meeting. I will try and get the agenda ready quickly this time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.